the theme for the practice period has been the 8 awarenesses of great people. Before I say something about that, though, there's something else I'd like to tell you, a story, a great story that has to do, it's kind of a context for these 8 awarenesses. The 8 awarenesses all by themselves are wonderful practices, but there is a context that I'd like to use. One day, a Zen person, a person of Zen, visited another person of Zen, a teacher of Zen. And the teacher of Zen said to the person of Zen, "Say something to me from before your parents were born. Say something to me before your parents were born." And that's what I'd like to talk to us about. There is this important teaching in Zen that there is our original face. There's a time before our parents are born that we can speak from. So I think in the first day of a Sesshin, we're very much, many of us for significant amounts of time, are in this other world, the world right now. Our parents have been born, and here we are, the result of all those karmic forces, and that's who we are. It's rolling in our heads and driving our bodies and giving us attitudes and showing us all sorts of things. And it's a fun world to frolic in, although sometimes it's total torture, you probably know. That world, our karmic conventional world, goes on all the time. Very strong. And so sometimes people of Zen want to go and learn about this or figure it out, or what is it? What is this life about? So this particular person of Zen went to a great Zen teacher and said, "Here I am, can you help me?" And he said, "Say something to me from before your parents were born." And the person of Zen, who would go on to become also a very important teacher, but the person of Zen was just a novice, and said, "A painting of a rice cake doesn't satisfy hunger." That's what he said from before his parents were born. A painting of a rice cake doesn't satisfy hunger. And I have been pondering this because for us in our modern times, a rice cake really doesn't satisfy hunger. It's basically a piece of air. But he was referring to something a lot more substantial back in those days. You know, a compact rice ball would be nourishing, it'd be packed with nutrients, maybe even some filling, but, you know, packed. And so I was trying to figure out what the comparable thing, I briefly considered tamale. Says a painting of a tamale doesn't satisfy hunger. Because in those times too, it would have been to say that a rice cake or a tamale or a sandwich or something, it stimulates the idea of hunger. It stimulates the idea of nourishment. So it's pretty good sentence. And Dogen really liked that sentence and turned it around and around and around. But for us, for now, that place before our parents were born, that place is in us. It's the place of our original face, the place of our true nature, and it's flowing all the time. All the time. So at the same time as we have our karmic being, all individual, the great variety of thoughts going on in any room at any time, is after our parents were born, after we were born, what we were born into, what we're dealing with, all the things going on in our world. And below that, or below, also through that, is flowing this reality that isn't bothered by that. This reality flows, and it's our source and our comfort and our real home. That's where our real home is, in that place. Today when we were reading the Song of the Jewel Mare Samadhi, when you recite it, you'll recognize that's what is being talked about in that poem. And it's what Dogen talks about practically all the time. See, in the poem, in Fukan Zazengi, he even says, once its heart is grasped, you are like a dragon taking to the water, like a tiger taking to the mountains. You find your home. This is where it is, outside of all of these thoughts and plans and so on. Can you say something from before your parents were born? But that was very courageous of that Zen person. He did say something. And that's one of the reasons why it resonates to this day. He said, a painted rice cake doesn't satisfy hunger. That's pretty good, actually. Dogen Zenji takes it and turns it around and around. I probably will be talking about this. Tomorrow, our Shuso will be talking about various things, including the 8 awarenesses. And then probably the next day I'll talk a little bit more about what Dogen does with this painted rice cake, because a painting of a rice cake doesn't satisfy hunger, but also a painting of a rice cake is reality also. The painting of the rice cake, the painting of the mountains, the painting of the Shuso sitting there with his Benji. I wish I had a camera. Shuso and Benji together. Those paintings are also reality. This is one of this ultimate reality of the flow before our parents were born, the flow of real reality, is one of the ways that Dogen Zenji in our school talks about the 2 truths. How many of you have not heard of the 2 truths? All of you are good with the 2 truths. So in our world, the conventional reality of this time that we experience as our lives today, our karmic inheritance, this is conventional reality. And we're all sharing it. We all see each other and recognize it. And then the ultimate reality, which is flowing, permeates all of it, all the time. There is no distinction. So when there is a distinction, but there's no distinction. So keeping that in mind, when we talk about the 8 awarenesses, which I have to read because I haven't memorized them. Have any of you memorized them? Shuso. Oh, good gracious. That's why you're the Shuso. The first awareness is to have few desires. To refrain from wildly coveting the objects of the 5 sense desires is called few desires. The second is to know how much is enough. Even if you already have something, you set a limit for yourself for using it. So you should know how much is enough. The third awakening is to enjoy serenity. This is to be away from noise and confusion and stay alone in a quiet place. This is called to enjoy serenity and seclusion. The fourth awakening is called diligent effort. It is to engage ceaselessly in wholesome practices. This is why it is called diligent effort. It is refinement without mixing in other activities. You keep going forward without turning back. The fifth awakening is not neglecting mindfulness. It is also called maintaining right mindfulness. This helps you to guard the Dharma so you won't lose it. It is called to maintain right mindfulness. The sixth awakening is to practice meditation. To abide in Dharma without being confused is called stability in meditation. The seventh awakening is to cultivate wisdom. It is to listen, contemplate, practice, and have realization. The eighth awakening is not to be engaged in hollow discussions. It is to realize and to be free from discriminatory thinking with a thorough understanding of the reality of all things. It is called to not be engaged in hollow discussions. The first one is the one I just want to pay homage to today, which is to have few desires, to refrain from wildly coveting the objects of the five sense desires is called few desires. When we think about this in our worldly way, our worldly time, our karmic inheritance, and our situation of being alive in this time, it makes sense, doesn't it, to have few desires, because there are so many things buffeting our five senses all the time. And we are desire creatures. We wouldn't be born into this realm unless there was desire. This is the desire realm. So we come by it honestly, all these desires. And then the awareness that the Buddha first pointed out, and then Dogen Zenji also listed as number one, is the having of few desires. But it's interesting, it doesn't say have no desires. It just has few. And how would we decide what the few are? Isn't that interesting? If we decide with our karmic life, I think it would be different for all of us, but it would be what it is. What would your few desires be driven by karma? Well, I want the cat to be happy. She's happy. She's taken over my shoe rack. Did you see? There are a few desires, and those are all karmic. But the real desire is this desire to get in touch with this ultimate place. That's a real desire. And that is the one that drove that Zen student across China to find a teacher who asked him about it directly. That's a desire. That's having few desires. And I think that when our experiences can be when we see through that karmic clutter and have an experience of this realm that's flowing through all things all the time, it's easier to concentrate our desires. So the having a few desires is an outgrowth of that experience rather than an imposition on your nature. So being in touch with things that distract us or things that focus us, things that concentrate us, allows more access to that place. And then desires sort of drop away. Desires for other things can drop away, strengthening those real desires, strengthening the few desires. So wouldn't you walk across China to meet somebody who helped you see your original face before your parents were born? Say yes, or think yes. Wouldn't you come to Sesshin to have a chance to let the mind clutter show itself and maybe calm down a tiny bit? That's what we do in order to see what we really desire. See what we really desire. And then the other desires also show themselves in in their true nature, their beautiful nature. Things that when you clarify these matters, we clarify desire itself. There's nothing wrong with desire. It's misunderstanding desire and misunderstanding the directionality of it. So this opportunity in Sesshin is really, really great. And I hope it's not too easy for you. It's going okay, not too easy? Not too easy? Coasting? I myself, one of my goals in Sesshin is a new learning, which is causing me to have a lot of fun in kind of a clumsy way. So I have recently learned, because I spend a lot of time with highly, highly trained Japanese priests, that this kotsu, this is the teaching stick, and well, this one is actually a nyoe because it's a mushroom. It's actually a nyoe, and it is a wish fulfilling object. But what I've recently learned from my highly trained Japanese friends is you never let it leave your left hand. And when I was trained at San Francisco Zen Center, I was trained that you can put it in your right hand when you put your zagu on here instead of lifting it over. But now I've learned you always put it in your left hand. So my entire body is trained to put it in my right hand to stand up from bowing, put it in my right hand when I put my zagu on. So I'm training myself. So I want you all to know the reason I look super clumsy is because I'm learning something new and I'm willing to look clumsy in front of you guys. So if I trip as I'm getting up, you'll know that it's because I need to. The body is always trainable, isn't it? The body is hungry, has a great desire to learn new things, new movements, new understandings, new postures. I'm so grateful that we have a really amazing yoga teacher who's helping us learn new things. So I really appreciate your direct feedback, because without your eye, we can't necessarily feel what we're doing. So the feedback you were giving us today about how to hold our knees and our thighs is so helpful. And if anybody has an issue with Constance's direct feedback, please give her a note. If you want her to just let you do what you do, you can give her a note. But if you want feedback, she can give it. So think about think if there is a desire coming from the ultimate realm. The ultimate realm is always reaching out to us. That was one of the lines from Song of the Jewel Mirror Samadhi today. Inquiry and response come up together. So the inquiry comes from the karmic mind. The response comes from the ultimate, and they meet in Gasho. Inquiry and response come up together. It's always available. Even if we've never met it, it's always there. Even if we forget about it and get totally frolicking in our karmic thoughts and problems and concerns, its concern is just being available for us.